Welcome to White's Chapel Online Week 1. We are so glad that you are here for our inaugural week of White's Chapel Online. This week we're going to be looking at the idea of hope and what does it look like for us to hope in something new. You know, it's very interesting. I'm kind of addicted to new. I was one of the guys that when the iPhone 4 came out, I was like, hey, I'm going to wait in line and get it. There was a guy in Dallas, he actually waited in line a whole week to get his iPhone 4, missed work, missed his responsibilities, and sat out front of an Apple store. You see, we're always addicted to the new, to the improved. I mean, let's take Tide, for example. I mean, how many more ways can you improve Tide and make it new? It's Tide. And what about the new car smell? I mean, we always want to get that new car smell. It's almost like it's the most expensive perfume that we can pay for on the market because we're so addicted to new. But on the flip side, we also live in a fad and trend-based society where it's like once something isn't new, we tend to throw it out. We tend to not need it anymore. I mean, think about the first cell phone. I mean, you all might have had the phone that was in the bag, right? And you had to carry it around with you. It's almost like you had to pay a parking fee just to have the car and the phone that came along with the bag. And now we don't even speak of those things. When fads and trends change, we tend to discard that as it's old, it's used, it's not new anymore. And so today, what I'd like for us to do is see what does it look like to have new life in Christ and what is the hope that comes with something new. I think over time, we can lose hope. Hope is one of those things that we can forget about. It's one of those things that when life beats us up and knocks us down, that's not new to us anymore. Many of us long to be renewed by something. And so just as much as we love new, we're quick to jump from hope to hopelessness. Our passion starts to lessen, our energies start to wane and fall to the wayside. We feel as our relationship with God is a million miles away and that our prayers are hitting the ceiling and that there's no chance for hope. And we might ask God to give us a fresh, something new, a new hope. And you know, we're not alone in this journey. In Isaiah chapter 43, verse 18 and 19, God tells us this through his prophet Isaiah. He said, forget about what's happened. Don't keep going over old history. Be alert, be present. I'm about to do something brand new. It's bursting out. Don't you see? There it is. I'm making a road through the desert, rivers in the Badlands. God tells his people once again that he's about to deliver them from Babylon. Now you got to understand that God's people, the Israelites, were under Babylonian captivity. Babylonian is like an old word for people that were like Optimus Prime. We're talking about big, bad Transformer dudes who had God's people in captivity. And God's people have been witnessed time after time again of him delivering them from the past, from Pharaoh, from the Egyptians, through the Red Sea. And here they are once again under oppression, without hope, craving and longing for something new. And God says this, forget about how it is right now. I'm about to do something new in your life. And we see that God works through them because he loves them and has a great plan for this nation. And the true thing about that is it can be said of us as well. See, I've started to find that in our lives, that just as we have seasons of life, fall and winter and summer and spring, that God works in seasons in our lives as well. You can look back at different journeys and different stages of your life where you might feel like that God is so close and so fresh and everything, your relationship with him, your dialogue with him is something that's just breathes life to your soul. Or there could be some times where you feel like it's the dark night of the soul where God is nowhere to be found and your relationships are stale and you feel like that things are dying, that things aren't fresh and you have this kind of wintry season. And so it's so important for us to understand that God works in seasons, that our spiritual life, the spirituality that we face is often has in seasons. And as we look back on that life, we can go and say, this is how God worked here, and God was up to this here, and this is what God's up to now. And so these different seasons is how we can really identify with the nation of Israel. That at this time, under captivity, they were in a winter season. That the things that used to be fresh and that were growing were no longer growing, but they were dying. And so God was having to remind them here in Isaiah 43, remember, God, I was there with you. I brought you out. I took care of you. It might not look like it now, but I'm going to do a new thing. I'm up to something new. And so we see here that as we identify with them, maybe a question that we ask is, what is the new thing that God might be doing in our lives? I love in Isaiah 61 where Isaiah says that God will give us beauty for our ashes. And that we come in and ask us, God, do we trust in you in such a way that you can do something new? Do we believe that you can do something new in our lives? And so God introduces us this new idea by reminding the people of Israel about the past events, that he's shown faithful, that he can be trusted. So what would you hope that God can make new in your life today? Many of us, we might have been stuck in a rut for a long time. And I don't know about you, but I don't do well in ruts. I could use something new. We all could. What is it in your life that might need a breath of newness? A broken relationship, a shattered dream, a discouraged heart. God is willing to do a new thing. Are you? We look in the life of Paul, and Paul had his various seasons of spirituality and the ups and downs and winters and summers and springs. In 2 Corinthians, he says this, that if anyone is in Christ, they are a new creation. Listen to this. The old is gone, but the new has come. We look to the life of Jesus, and we see towards the end of our story that in Revelation, Jesus says that, behold, I'm going to make all things new. And that the tears, the sorrow, the grief, the pain, all will be wiped away. All will be made right. All will be well. And so in the meantime, as we are in these seasons of life, we have to live in between this tension of things aren't quite the way they should be and the way they're going to be. The other day I was talking to my best friend, and we have all these spiritual conversations and random conversations and conversations about sports and life and all kinds of things. I mean, like alligators, for instance. And so we're talking about this idea of spiritual seasons. And we're talking about, man, it is summer. It is hot here in Texas. I mean, 106 degrees. But we feel like we are in a winter season in our life. And so he said, you know what we need, Dusty? He said, we need spring to come. We need spring to come into our lives. So this metaphor that really resonates with Isaiah 43 passage that we looked at earlier. Maybe it could be said that God's saying, I'm up to something new. Behold, I'm doing a new thing. That spring is coming. That God's new thing is that spring can come in the seasons of your life. In your wintry moment, spring can come. And this makes sense with our story. You see, the crucifixion was a dark, wintry moment. It was devoid of hope. It was full of just anxiety and grief and pain. But spring busted through the seams when the resurrection came, offering new life, offering a new promise, a new chance to embrace the newness of what God had through our relationship with Jesus. And so maybe the new thing for you to embrace today is the new life that Jesus has to offer. Spring can come into your life right now. Or maybe it's just time for you to renew that hope in Jesus, to renew the confidence in the faith that spring can come, that God can do a new thing in your life. You know, I was thinking as we embrace something new, this community is a new thing. White's Chapel Online, it's a brand new thing. This is the first gathering that we've had, the first experience for God to be up to something new. I mean, what if this space could be a space where we gather as a community and we can embrace the hope, embrace the newness that God has to bring in our lives and share it with the world? Imagine if we could be able to go, spring is coming in your situation, in your fall, in your winter, in the bleak, dark days of your soul, spring is coming. I love the lyrics of the song that we're about to sing that says, you hold my world in your hands, and that nothing is impossible for you, that nothing is impossible for you, God, because you hold my world in your hands. And that hope that anchors our soul, that hope that doesn't let us down, that hope that holds us in God's hands, is that spring is coming. This brings us hope. This gives life and vitality to our souls. And so this week I want you to think about, what are the areas in my life that need newness, that need freshness? And maybe your phrase or your mantra or what's at the front of your brain this week is that despite how bad it might look, spring is coming. Then it could be that it's just right around the corner.